Welcome back, guys. Well, today I'm out on a wonderful Crownland adventure. Just going to make some lunch and have a chat. Stay tuned. So I'm just out on a hike today on some of our provincial Crownland, and it's just an awesome day outside. It's slightly overcast, 4 degrees Celsius outside, so just kind of perfect spring weather. It's nice to hear all the birds singing again and the geese coming back. So I'm just out on this lake here. I'm going to do a little bit of a hike around the area so you can see what's going on. And then I think we'll have some lunch because it's getting around that time. So as you can see, the lake is still frozen over. There's a few tracks of people walking around doing some ice fishing. I think there's one guy just behind me actually that's doing some ice fishing as well. So the woods here are what you typically see kind of around my cabin. You know, there's lots of pine and spruce and balsam fir. There's also some maple on the other side of the lake as well. Of course, we've got these beautiful rocks sticking out of the earth here. It's typical in our area where there's lots of shield. Get lots of really cool exposed rock. So as I look down here, I see a burrow, and I don't know what's living down there. Hey, maybe it's the Easter Bunny. Maybe that's where the Easter Bunny lives. Take a look. I don't see a whole lot of rabbit sign here, but I found a little acorn or something like that. So minor mystery for now, but it might very well be a rabbit hole. Of course, thankfully for me, there's some white birch around, so this one's stone dead and kind of fallen over here. So basically, I'm just going to pull off some of this. Start a fire later for our lunch. You can see there's a little bit of a squirrel feed there. There's lots of red squirrels in here. Certainly because there's lots of white pines in here, you can find the red squirrels. A few of them are sort of chittering behind me. And here's a giant white pine that I'm coming up to right now. It's really nice to see some of these old ones still intact. So in our Ontario Crownland, you can find a lot of these big trees still left. It was logged a long time ago and a few times over, and they're still continuing to log, but a few of these big boys are still left. You know, they're left from back in the era when they used to take white pine for the ship mast to send to England. And some of these are old and crooked, so they didn't quite fit what we needed to send over there back in the day, so you'll still find them standing in these forests. So Crownland is basically owned by the Queen, and you know, our government kind of regulates them. So basically you're allowed to be on Crownland for camping, foraging, hiking. You know, when you're camping, you have to only stay 21 days in one spot, so you don't sort of damage the ecosystem. But it's free of charge for all Canadians. If you're a non-Canadian, if you want to spend some time on Crownlands in terms of camping, I believe you need to get a permit. I think it's $10 a day. But it's really worth it to get out and explore the wilderness here and do some wildlife watching and you know, learn lots of cool stuff and have lots of fun. Here I'm hot on the trail of the Easter Bunny. You can see the tracks are right here. Heading off this way. Look at all that. Those are all the cones from the pine trees that the squirrels have really shredded. My goodness, this guy was busy. He's been back a few times. And here on this rotted tree are some horse hoof fungus. This is an excellent fire starter as well. They have amadou inside of them, and so basically that really is great at catching the spark. This looks like a little bit of a slide right here. Very interesting. Ooh. Snow's getting pretty darn deep in here. Guess I could have used some snowshoes in here. Look how deep that snow is. That's where I went in. And right on, look what I found, a stream. Very beautiful. Melting out nicely. Oh, my heart's just racing. Just turned you guys back on after my little part of my hike there. And I was just kind of going over a log, and I kind of went down deep in the snow up to my knee in front of something that almost looked like it could be a bear den. Like, I don't think it is now that I looked at it, but this huge cavern kind of underneath a fallen log. Had some snow just off the front part of it. I could almost convince myself I saw eyeballs. I know I was just totally freaking out. But anyway, it's bear season around here. They're coming out of their dens. So I'm on high alert, and I just kind of freaked myself out. Don't think that was a bear den, but man, I really got to keep my eyes out. I felt pretty vulnerable too, you know, I kind of went down deep to my knees in the snow. It's not like I could actually run away if the thing came after me. Thankfully I've got an axe and a big knife to defend myself, but that could have been bad. Here's some fungus that kind of looks like turkey tail. When you pluck it and look underneath, it's certainly not. See, it's got that maze-like pattern to the underside of the mushroom, so it isn't turkey tail, so I won't be taking any of those for my tea this afternoon. More rabbit sign, the rabbits must be nearby. All right, well, I think I'm going to find a spot now to make a fire and have our lunch. And here you can see there's been beavers pretty active in the area. You can see all the teeth marks on this log right here. Take a look right in there, those powerful incisors gnawing away at the wood. So as I'm walking along, I'm taking my little cheap compass with me here and getting a reading every now and then. But one thing to remember is that, I'm just going to bring this close to the camera here, and you can see how the compass is affected actually by how close it is to the camera. You see there's a magnetic field within the camera. And as I take it away from the camera, look at that, huge difference. So really important when you're out in the woods to just pay attention if it doesn't make sense what direction you're going. You know, maybe something isn't right. And I was getting a weird reading, and then I realized I had my camera kind of dangling around my neck, and my hand is holding my compass out in front. And obviously that was affecting my reading. So really important, stay safe in the woods and trust your equipment, but when something doesn't make sense, make sure you verify it. Thankfully also with me today I have my little eTrex 10 Garmin, and it has a compass on there as well, and so I just took a bearing with that one and it was completely different, and that's when it triggered me to think, wait a minute, all these things don't add up. I don't feel like I'm going the direction I think I'm going. My Garmin says I'm not, and when I move this away from the camera, there's a big difference in the reading. Well, there's a nice little open spot here in front of this log, and so I think this is where we're going to set up the camp for lunch. Just back this way there is another little part of that stream, so it's a nice little picturesque area, so I think this is a great spot. We'll collect some firewood now. Just brought one of my little axes with me, so let's collect a little bit of stuff here. You also want to get lots of nice fresh kindling, which there's tons of it around here, so some really nice dry stuff. This is what we're going to use when we start the fire. I also have my kit from Kirk north of 51 here, my tinder kit, and I grabbed, as you know, a little bit of birch bark on the way in, so we should be good. Don't know if you guys could hear that, but the birds are certainly extremely worked up behind me, kind of swooping down to the ground, and you know, the nuthatches and the chickadees are really ticked off. Totally could be because of me, but whenever you hear, you know, nature's warning alarms like birds and squirrels giving their alarm call, you always kind of want to look around and make sure there's nothing else, you know, like a coyote or a bear kind of coming in the area, or even an owl. Sometimes you get to see some really cool stuff. I don't see anybody now over there. They're probably just mad at me. Still got a lot of snow in the woods, so it's tricky. As this sort of heats up, it's going to sink in. So I tried to dig down as much as I could. I kind of put a bit of sticks here at the bottom to sparks to kind of catch on. There we go. a little bit of air. Bring the wrapper. Stick that right in here. Nice and hot. So the snow is melting out around this time of year, so it's a little bit yucky. So I'm just going to heat up some water in my cup. This is a steel enamel cup, so it's good to be near the fire. So we'll just pop her on some coals here. Heat it up. Turn my TheWildYam sticker the other way so it doesn't burn off. Well, almost done. You see the chili's just boiling away there nicely. My tea's heating up. Don't want my tea to boil, that's for sure. Alright, my chili's cooled down sufficiently, so I'm gonna have some lunch. This is pretty easy to take along and just heat up beside the fire here. That's really good. A little bit of my pants. So I'm wearing my Fall Raven pants today outside, and as you know, I love these pants. They're awesome. I did the Greenland wax cure of the fabric, so they are pretty waterproof, especially in the knee areas and areas like the butt, you know, where you're going to be exposed to a lot of the snow and stuff like that. So I really like them. They're comfortable. Right now, like I said, it's not that cold outside, but I don't have any long johns on or anything like that. Just perfect pants. So it's really important after my cookout today that I clean up this area. The Crown Land here in Ontario, it's for everybody to enjoy. So I don't want to leave a mess for the next person. So obviously I'm going to be packing out any you know, canned goods and things that I bring with me. And obviously making sure that I put the fire dead out before I leave. It's really important too when you're doing some Crown Land adventures that you make sure to check if there's a fire ban on in the area. Really important that you don't start a fire if there's a fire ban unless you are in an emergency situation. So basically, you know, keep an eye on the regulations. You can certainly fish on Crown lands around here, which is amazing. And there's lots of good opportunities in this area. There's like brook trout and things like that. So how do you find a piece of land like this, the Crown Land, to enjoy? Well, we have a map here in Ontario called the Ontario Crown Lands Atlas, and I'll put a link down below in the description box so that you can, if you're in Ontario, that you can find some Crown Land to hang out on. And I'm sure it's similar for every province. There's probably Crown Land that you can enjoy, and there'll be an atlas online where you can find the land. There's certainly lots of Crown Land in the north, but there's also little pockets here and there in between cities and stuff like that in some rural areas. So take advantage of it, check it out, enjoy it. You know, one of my YouTube friends there, PineMartyn, really enjoys Crown Land camping and has quite a few videos on the topic. So if you're interested in that, you can head over and check out his channel. I'll put the link down in the description box. Well, let's head right back out on the trail and see what else we can find. It's just starting to spit outside now for a little bit, so I've just put on my raincoat that I brought with me. And right in front of me is a huge cedar. This is quite old. It's great to see this tree here as well. I wonder if it's 100+ years old. It is crazy. Like, you see my hand against the sort of the size of it. Just huge. This is awesome. This area is where a lot of wildlife, like deer and stuff like that, sometimes they can yard up in here. There's a lot of shelter with these cedars. They just don't lose their leaves. Nice to see some open water this time of year. Well, no Easter bunny yet, but I want to show you guys that there is some otter activity here. So here's an otter slide coming down the bank and through the little stream here. As we go on the shore here, there goes the otter bounding away. Very neat. We're following the stream along, and I'm following the otter tracks. I find out where it's coming from, and there's a little lake up here. Well, isn't this cool? I was expecting this. This is a small little inland pond in this area. It's awesome. I guess this is where the otters like to hang out. This little pond is so cool. It's really tucked back in here. That's what I love about Crown Land. There's always something to discover out here. Sort of surrounded by some cedars and some beautiful tall eastern white pine. Probably some trout in here as well. Didn't bring my fishing gear, it's back in the car before I hiked in, so oh well. If I really wanted to, I do have some fishing stuff as well as my axe to kind of get a hole here in the ice, but I'll leave the fish be for today. Just came across someone's old hunt camp here. Some of these areas were kind of grandfathered in. So you can find the odd hunt camp or home on Crown land. Especially great in an emergency situation if you needed to find a place to stay. Well, here's someone's hunt camp. I wouldn't do that though, obviously, unless it was an absolute emergency. But isn't this a beautiful spot for this cabin? Wow. Beautiful. Some open water out here. You notice I'm not going towards the middle. Definitely going to go in. So I'm going to have to cross on this log, I think. Oh yeah, definitely feel the ice breaking beneath my feet there. Little squirrel tracks. Well, no sooner did I speak, do I get a booter. Gosh, I'm dumb. Darn, getting ticked off at myself for that. Anyway, I'm gonna go change out my sock here and gonna change gears. I'm definitely not going this way. It is a little more open than I thought out here. It's a bad time of year, guys. Be safe. Don't be like me. All right, so here's my predicament. I've got my sort of wet sock here, my boot. I've wrung out my boot liner. And out of my pocket, I had this, which I use to kind of cover my camera if it's raining. So I'm gonna take my sock off. I'm gonna put this on, and then I'll put my boot back on. So I've got some insulation, but then my leg won't be wet. Well, back on the trail again. Guess it wouldn't be an adventure without something silly happening like that. But something like that can actually get pretty, serious pretty fast. Basically okay, I've got some extra gear with me, but more embarrassed than anything that happened. Could see the water up ahead and thought I was good, but you never know, right? Looked like the water actually was completely thawed out just in front of that log, and that's where my leg went in. Thankfully, just went in up to the knee, nothing too serious, got a booter. But it could be really bad, especially at a different time of year, or if nightfall comes and gets really cold. Remember what Survivor Man says, you get wet, you die. Or you can if you're not prepared. And take a look at these polypores. Wow. Beautiful. It's growing off this white birch here. Oh, look how huge they are. Nice and smooth on the underside. You could probably carve your initials or something in there and it'd stay forever. And there it is. The wild yam was here. Well, some of you were on an Easter egg hunt this morning. I just came across a geocache. Geocaches are treasure hunts, basically. And this one has got a little tiny tube in here that you want to take out, and there'll be probably a spot to write my name down and put it back. I wasn't even actually looking for a geocache today, but this is pretty awesome. Just found it here in the woods. Well, I got it out. It's a little film canister style. And there's a little notebook in there. Let's take a look. Well, here I have the log out. Looks like it was placed by Model 12 and a whole bunch of people signed it. Unfortunately, I forgot my pen today, so I have no way to sign this. Oh well, very cool. I guess I'll just log it online. How many of you guys geocache? Let me know down in the comments. All right, just popped it back in there for the next person to find. Very cool. It's just tucked away here in this cedar swamp. Thanks so much for joining me on today's adventures. Well, the Easter Bunny was a little bit elusive, but we found lots of other cool stuff. Had a couple of scares along the way. Thankfully, everything turned out just fine. I hope you guys have a great week as always. Take care.